Hello, everybody. How are we doing on this lovely, hot, maybe too hot day? Um, I just wanted to start off with a bit of an apology, if I'm entirely honest. Last week, we were obviously meant to do this on a weekly basis, every Tuesday, 6 p.m. It should be ingrained into your brains if you're a regular watcher of this by now. But I had an abscess in my tooth. It's no excuse really, but then when it got to the point I wasn't able to talk because of the abscess, I thought I literally cannot sit down and record one of these. I'd look like a fool, and people wouldn't see any value in it at all. So obviously, been to a dentist, went and got sorted and whatnot. But for the last week, up until yesterday, I'd been on tablets. So I was still on, a couple of painkillers there. What is it, Solbadines and fucking ibuprofens and shit like that to get the swelling down. But I was on some antibiotics and whatnot because what had happened was I won't go into too much detail, but basically I tried to self-medicate and fix it myself, and it caused more damage than anything else. So when I was taking the antibiotics and the swelling was quite bad, I was slavering when I was talking quite excessively, so I was unable to sit down and record anything. So I just want to apologise for that first and foremost. Now we've got that out the way, I'd like to say welcome. It's been a fascinating 2 weeks, especially with Scene Chat. The reason I say it's been fascinating for Scene Chat is because there's been a bit of an evolution in what we do and how we do it. And I'll give you a statistic. So it's 5 times more successful than it was 2 weeks ago. What I'm about to tell you, which is really, really good, and I'm really proud of the idea. I'm not going to say it's fully original because I'm sure there's people who've also done this as well. So just to be clear, it's probably not an original idea. But I think it's the first time I've seen it done in the context of dance music. So hopefully this is something new that can take off, and that is called Off Record. If you follow me on social media, you will have seen Off Record, what I've been doing with it. It's an anonymous questionnaire. So what you can do is if you click on the link, which I'll put in the description below, you can ask questions anonymously. A lot of people maybe don't know me that well, or maybe are uncomfortable asking me a question in case they come across as, maybe like it's something obvious or something they didn't know, and it make them look a bit daft. I always say there's no question that's too daft, but obviously people believe themselves to be, don't ask this just in case. So what I'm offering now is, this is the first time I think I've seen it done. It's an anonymous forum. You ask the question, and you can put your name at the end if you want to, or if it would be entirely anonymous. There is no email sign up. There is no sign up or anything like that. We don't process any of your data. Just to be clear, it's literally just a questionnaire. And you fill it in and whatnot. So with that said, I put it out 10 days ago on social media. A little behind the curtain look. When we ask for questions for the podcast, they usually come in to either myself or John. And it's between sort of 8 to 10 questions a week we get roughly. Out of that 8 to 10 questions, I would say 2 or 3 of them are usable, or it's either because they're duplicated, where it's like basically the same question but worded slightly different, or it's a bit of a nonsensical question that doesn't really make sense in the context of what we're doing. So now you can do it if you use the link below with the forum, and you can submit anything you want. Say, I'll give you a little bit of context of what's happened. So we'll get in between 8 and 10. In the last 10 days, we've received 54 submissions for the questions since we put that out. That's just on social media. That's without putting one of these videos out. And 55, including what I'm about to tell you. So we've got 54 questions, which were all really good in their own way. We'll try and get through as many as we can. But the one that I got was what was it? You've got a large head physically and egotistically. So like I said, I don't know how to answer that. You know what I'm saying? If that's a question that was submitted by yourself, then use grammar a little bit better, because if it's a question, I will answer it. I'm nothing's off the table, and I'm not using this as a hook to get you to continue watching this video. When I say there's nothing off the table, there is a question that's been asked today that I spoke with some of my peers about actually asking this question. they were like, "Are you sure you want to do that?" And I was like, you know what? I think, like I said, I put out the rule saying there's no subject off limits, and I'm going to discuss it. It's a little bit touching nerves in certain areas, and I'm going to put my point forward, and as well, I'm going to discuss it like an adult. This is a debate, and again, this is people in the comments. You can sit and comment on that as well. It will be the last question we talk about today because it's in a direction in which can change the tone of the whole podcast, and I don't want that to be the catalyst that changes it all. So we'll go through some of the questions that were submitted by people, and we'll finish off with that one. So that's not a hook or anything like that. I just want to put a bit of a awareness test out to say, listen, there's going to be maybe an uncomfortable question in this, and if you don't want to watch it any further, don't worry, it's the last question we ask. That said, welcome to the show, and I hope everyone has, been having a good time. There's been some really good festivals on. I've seen some good events kicking about over the last couple of weeks. A lot has happened. I would like to go through and do a review of what all those are, but I'll be entirely honest with you, my mind feels a little bit blank at the moment because there's been so much in the last 2 weeks. But we have got a little bit of a hot topic to talk about today, which seems to be on the tip of everyone's tongues, which we'll get into in a second. And then we've got some things I'd like to go through as well. And as well, I've got a bit of an announcement of a couple of things coming up, so that'll be interesting. So I received 4 or 5 questions, one of which may be in today. I can't remember if I've included it today, but one of the questions was, along the basis of, is there anybody out there who is doing, track production, sort of mentoring new artists and things like that? I'm by no means a mentor, but we will be doing something. I don't want to give the full details away yet because it's not finished. It's a series that I'm currently recording, and if I announce it and then somebody else does it before me, I'm going to look like a dickhead. So in true fashion, I will tell you a little bit about it. It's a track writing series, so it's how we write our manic tracks, how we come up with our ideas. It's a process from the beginning till the end. So without giving too much away on how we do that and what we're going to do, is it will be from what I've noticed is, and I want to give a shout out to these people as well. Couple of people I've seen online, and I apologise if I missed you out, but I think there's Critical Mass, I think there's Steve Willow, DVB's done it, there is Drake Liddell's done one, I believe, and these are, bouncy tutorials. A couple of others what's worth mentioning as well is there's a guy over in the hard house scene, Rob Yellowly. I can't remember his alias now, but he's done some hard house stuff as well. That's worth checking out. And these are tutorials on how to make the music. Nothing against them. I think they're all very useful in their own way. It tells you, how to put a kick drum down, how to put a hi-hat down, how to write melodies, how to process them, and they're all very good and functional for what they are. But a couple of the questions I'm seeing coming through, and I've seen some of them names I've dropped there, have been mentioned in these questions. There's never been a somebody who... There's a difference between learning to be a producer and learning to be a songwriter. And there isn't many songwriters in bounce music. There's a lot of them who can produce music, but they are just replicating what they hear. So, for instance, you might see somebody come along and go, I think I'm going to learn how to produce. They watch these tutorials, they get to a certain level, and then all of a sudden, they know how to produce a track like quite cleanly, quite efficiently, but their creativity's stumped because they'll just copy like an Alex K. As an example, I'm just using that as an example. There's many out there, and you probably know, or I can think of a handful of them already who this applies to. What we're going to be doing is slightly different. It's going to be the creative process. So we will show you, yes, how we make a manic record. It's not the right way, it's not the wrong way. It's how we make a manic record. But it's going to be the creative process as well, coming up with ideas, taking ideas out of a track that doesn't work and replace them with something that does. You get to see like the ups and downs of the emotional journey you go on with writing a track, and it's going to be made into a series. I'm looking to make the series into a series 1 up through to series X, like 20. But series 1's going to be the creative process in writing a single track. So it's going to be one case study that we do, where we're going to break down how we come up with the ideas, show you our reference points, show you what the idea initially was versus what the outcome of the finished track was. And through that, every single session that I'll be putting out, so I think it would work in about 6 episodes. I think 6 episodes covers what's needed for that. And what the 6 episodes will cover at the end of each one will be anyone who's looking to get a little bit of mentorship in, what we're doing, is you can follow along and watch these videos, even if it's 5 years in the future and you come across these. I'll put a little footnote at the end saying, if you're a producer and you're looking to get into production and you want to be able to become a songwriter as well, I'll be there for mentorship. I'll be there to help people out. There's no scene if there's no next generation, and I want to make that like massively clear, because one thing that we're seeing now is, and I'm victim of this as well, so I'm not making out as if I'm any sort of saviour or anything like that, is we see the same names on the flyers. Unfortunately, I've had a shit 2 years, and I'll explain why in a second. But it's getting better for me now. But without the next generation coming through, when there's not going to be a scene in 5 years, there's not going to be a scene in 10 years. There's all these young people who's making this like what you would call hyper techno or new hard house stuff, and they're flying. There's people they've become massively international DJs off the back of a few tracks, and the reason is the production on them is nowhere near as good as some of the stuff that I hear in the bounce scene, but the creativity surpasses anything that you would hear in the bounce scene. So I'll just make that clear. Because there's people writing creative tracks, they're getting picked up by major labels and they're actually getting somewhere. And I think that's something that's worth exploring. So, with that said, we'll get jumped into today's show. I just want to do that as a bit of a prefix there as part of this. We have got 2 new releases coming out as well, which is Thursday, we've got Nick Hughes and Chris J with Turn It Up. I put a little clip out of that the other day. Really banging track. If you've heard it, you'll know yourself. It's a banger. In 2 weeks' time, I've got a bit of an announcement here. Myself and John are going to be releasing a 4-track free EP. So it's our summer EP. It's Inside the Vault Volume 3. It's 4 tracks, never been distributed before, and yeah, all for nothing. It's just bootlegs and remixes that we've been working on and been playing out. I say playing out in our sets. I don't think I played any of them out, to be honest with you. I know John's been playing them out. Thank God for him. But yeah, so that's a little announcement there from ourselves as well. So yes, I've got through the plugin and whatnot. I want to get into today's scene chat. So let me just get everything up here. I've explained what off record is. Off record is a new way where we do question time essentially. So off record, if you're really interested in submitting some questions, feel free just to submit them on the form. And it doesn't guarantee that you will that you'll get them read out on this show, but stands a high possibility it will if it's a good enough question. And as well, every Thursday I'm doing a little off record post where I will post the question publicly. It's obviously still anonymous because I don't know who's asked the questions, but then I'll put a reply in the comments and let other people put their replies in the comments. We did one last week about DJs who play underage and should it be allowed and things like that, and we got some really interesting answers. I think we had some legends comment on it. If you're familiar with old school DJ Fat Controller, he threw his 2 pence in, and I thought, you know what, I'm really happy with that. If you'd have told me, if you told me 10 years ago that I was having debates and discussions online, and you've got the DJ Fat Controller commenting on your shit, I'd be like, yeah, class. I've made it. Mum, I've made it. Just 2 seconds, grab a drink. Before we get into this as well, I want to just say it is unbelievably hot today. So I apologise. Just like the World Cup, if anyone's watching the World Cup, hydration breaks are needed because fuck me, it's warm. If you're wondering what the green stuff is, it's pre-workout, creatine and some electrolyte things. I'm going to the gym after this, so Yeah, just working on that. Working on getting fit. What else? Oh yeah, because working on getting fit. I've been weightlifting now about coming up 3 years, but I started doing my cardio running and stuff. I'm doing a charity run, which I will leave the link to if you want to put a donation forward. On the 19th of September, I'm doing the Great North Run half marathon. 23 kilometers. If you want to watch a fat guy fail, I'm going to probably attach these cameras on the run to me and document everything, because I haven't run further than 10k yet, and I've got 23 to run, and I don't do 10k very well. So yeah, that's going to be an interesting journey. It might be a suicide mission, to be honest with you, but we move. So off record submissions. I want to say thank you. I wish I come up with this 10 weeks ago, because the level of questions where people are a bit more cosy and comfortable to ask what they're really thinking shows, and it shows a lot, and I love it. So, first question: do you think there's a lot of favouritism in the scene? Picking the same DJs over and over again? Firstly, thank you for that submission. That was the first one we got through, I think, so that's why I've asked that. So do you think there's a lot of favouritism in the scene? My honest answer is yes. No, in fact, my answer is no. I've just sort of sat on the fence there. There's no favouritism, right? I'm going to break it down into sections. You have the trustworthy ones. So I'm going to name drop this, and I'm sorry if I offend anybody, but it's the way I look at my outlook on the scene. Your John G's, your Pete Monsoons, your Pete Dailies, these DJs who are legends, right? I could name a million. These people get on events over and over and over again because they're trusted. It's not because of favouritism, it's because you give them a dance floor, right? Whether they're on first hour, whether they're on last hour, they're going to get the job done of what's needed done. And again, multi-genre DJs as well, they play old school, bounce, whatever. Right, so that's the first and foremost. You've got the people who are popular, because the names I've just named off there are extremely the legends and the popular in the scene, but they're trusted to do the work as well. That's the key part of this. Then you get the others as well, who are friends and associates of the promoter. Whether they're skilled or whether they're or not is a completely different story. But a lot of the time, I've no shame in saying this as well. And it's kind of backwards thinking, but someone like a Howard from Elation, I'm going to name drop him. Howard has told me he's put me on his events and whatnot. I'd consider him a mate. We talk about the gym. We talk, like he's a friend of mine, and we share a similar taste in music with regards to what we grew up listening to and things like that. So we've naturally become friends. Do I expect him to put me on his events? I don't. Will he put me on his events? Probably. He's probably more inclined to put someone like me on, who's his mate, and he knows that we share a similar style, as well as listening to I'd like to think my knowledge and my skill would be able to do a lot of the talking as well, but it probably helps having a relationship with the promoter. I've got a booking. I'm going to just drop a couple of these now. I don't really care. Event's not announced yet, but I've got an event coming up in Chorley. For a promoter. I don't know the guy. I know he watches this, and he reached out after me after an episode of this and said, "Hi mate, love what you do with the podcast. Can you come on?" and thing. That was not through favouritism. That was through he's a fan of what I do, so therefore he's booked me. So that's the other end of the scale. Got an inbox from Pat White, who runs Totally Lost It. We're associates. I would, acquaintances, so to say. I wouldn't say we're friends. I've never hung out with the guy. I've seen him at raves. I've known him a long time. He's from around my area. I used to go to Fusion back in the day, but I wouldn't say we were mates. He's reached out, says he loves what I'm doing. Offered a book in there, sorted. Is it favouritism? I'm going to say no. This is heart on sleeve moment right now as well. I've had a really, really hard 2 years. Times where I've really thought about throwing in the towel with it all, because I do everything I can, as in like making the tunes, making the mixes and everything like that, promoting myself. And I've had a dry patch of almost 2 years without. I think I played BTID Pier on the Pier, which is a big one, by the way. You know, some people would trade all of their gigs all year to do that one, and I'm extremely grateful for it. And I got asked to come back and do it the second time, or the third time maybe. I don't know, third time now, this year. But unfortunately, I was on holiday, so I am very grateful for that. But other than that, I've had nothing, and it's been painful to see. And I'm going to share heart on sleeve moment with you right now, that I'm not the only one who feels like this. For what I do and what I put in, and to the level I do it, I think that I probably should get more. I'm not going to sit here and go, you know what, I should be given more gigs, and whatnot. I'm not going to do that because it's not my style. But when I see like an event announced and it's like a room 2 or a room 1, and I'm like, every single DJ on there, I'm like, what have they got that I haven't? And it does make you think at times, and that's where the favouritism thing comes in. And I think that's where the basis of this questions came from. Do you think there's favouritism in the scene? No, and the eagle-eyed watchers here will be listening out for this next part that I'm about to say. But in everything I've said, with your trusted people, your friends of the promoters, the regular faces you see, then you get the other end of it, who are the ticket sellers, right? And I'm going to give you my perspective on this as well. Right. In the last 12 months, it's become noticeably more blatant in what's going on. You see in main room DJs now who are essentially ticket sellers. To me, there's a few things out there. You've got your DJs who are DJs. If there was not a single person looking at me in the room, and I was in the corner, or I was in another room, and just being able to, a little window to see, I played gigs like that in the past where you've only got a little window to see the dance floor, and they can't see you, and you're not the most important part of the room. Not everyone's facing you. Everyone's facing different directions, and let's say that was still a thing. I'd still be the fucking nerdy DJ with a record collection who goes, I want to see just people dance. And it's like, there's some element of somewhere along the line, there is a ravers community that was born. And these people you'll know about from back in the day. If you went out back in the day, there was these ravers who were around who were the popular people, you know what I mean? They'll organise buses, they'll organise... they want to go to the rave with all their mates, and they are the popular people. I've never been that person, nor do I want to be that person. But these people have, when DJing's become accessible, have become, oh, you know what? I'm going to play tunes that I want to do. And fair play to them as well, if they want to play tunes that they want... and they've started building their profile off the back of being the popular sort of people at the after parties and things like that. And these people who don't really know how to read a crowd, they're coming in and just playing all the tunes they love. And would there be DJs if it was, you weren't getting the attention? Probably not. And this isn't a dig at anybody either. I'm just speaking real right now. We all talk about it behind closed doors, and let's not make out we don't. But the ticket selling epidemic is nearly as bad as the AI poster epidemic. 5 years ago, we'll say pre-COVID, right? Pre-COVID, there wasn't this epidemic of ticket selling. It used to be, if you're a room 2 DJ, you would be a ticket seller. That's what the what was it? Like sort of rent a raver almost, where it's like, I'm going to put you on, but you've got to bring 5 of your mates, 10 of your mates, or whatever. I've seen that. It's just part of the politics of the scene, but it's actually infested into the main room, where a lot of the people who 6-7 years ago, pre-COVID, wouldn't get a sniff in at the main room because they are not good enough. The quality of the DJ is just simply not good enough. I think if I was going to put money on this, we're going to look back at this last sort of 12 months as probably a lull point in our scene. People might disagree. People, this is a matter of opinion. People might go, you know what, you're wrong there, mate. And fair play. If you think that's the case, then drop a comment and say, Brad, I'm sorry on this one. You've got like some hot takes, but I disagree with you on this one. And that's the fact that I think when the music goes back underground, which it inevitably will, you can almost see it dropping out the pop culture in comparison to what it was. You don't see as many chart ravey tunes as much anymore, whereas it's a lot of it still sounds manufactured. There's certain points in time where you have like 80s music where there was like glam rock and everything was manufactured, but people were attracted to that unauthentic manufacturing of what a pop star was. And then the grunge era came along, and you had things like Nirvana, Smashing Pumpkins, all them style grunge bands who were wearing normal everyday clothes, and people felt relatable to them, and it was then cool to be more underground. And this is the thing that's happening. You're getting this waves of popularity, and at one point it's going to be unpopular to be a DJ. It's going to be a bit cringe to be a DJ, to be honest with you. You can almost see the writing on the wall. And that's where the people who stick around will reap the rewards, because you can tell they're truly in it for the right reasons. I apologise if I went a long way around this, but there's so many different variables to your question, is there favouritism in the scene? I'm going to say yes to an extent, but no, because there's trusted members who've been around for years who's able to do the job. There is your ticket sellers. They become favourites. That's favouritism. And guess what? When that ticket seller... Right. The difference between talent and ticket selling is, once that ticket seller takes his foot off the gas and his mates stop coming out, or her mates stop coming out, when you're no longer of value to that promoter, see you later. You know, you might get a room 2, you might be demoted to the room 2, but if you're not selling 50 tickets like you once were, and you're only selling 5, you're not an asset to the promoter anymore, unfortunately, because you're not skillful enough to be able to justify your place on the card, but at the same time you're not selling enough tickets to justify your case on the card. So this is all flash in the pan stuff. This whole ticket selling epidemic will die down, I am sure. So there's your answer to the question. I hope it gives you the best answer it can. Second question, what is putting the whole ghost producer/engineer debate aside for another year, this is a genuine question. What's a long-term goal for people who pay to have their tracks made for them if they're not actively DJing and not trying to build a profile and no intention of pushing for bookings? A lot of people are paying to release tracks on labels like Bounce Heaven, Revolution, Bouncy, etc. But realistically, we all know the royalties won't even come close to covering the cost of what they've spent to get the tune engineered. If they're not using those releases to build their own profile or differentiate their mixes from others, then what's the investment? It's no secret within the scene, when someone hasn't actually produced their own music, we all know who's making the tracks, etc. All you're doing is saturating a small pool of tracks to not even cover the cost of the production. The same ideas have already been done many times over. Wouldn't it make more sense for long-term perspective to invest that money into production lessons and learn the skill yourself? You'd end up with something you genuinely own, improve with every project, and have the ability to create whatever you want. Right. That is a long question, but we'll answer it the best we can. So first off, what is the long-term goal for people who pay to have their tracks made if they're not DJing, not trying to build a profile, and no intention of bookings? Right. I'm going to try and be generous on this one, and I've seen this firsthand because I've had people come to me and I've tunes engineered for them. I personally, there's people out there who are genuine lovers and fans of this what we do, whether it's an individual artist or an individual sound or an individual scene or a label or what, and they've got ideas. They're just ravers who've got ideas. So with that, when the opportunity arises to go and work with someone they've been a fan with for years, they're going to snap it up and go, right, I'm not a producer, I'm not really that arsed about getting gigs. I'm not even a DJ. I just want to hear a tune made in this style. It's all my ideas, and I think this would be really good. In that case, I've seen people come along and get tunes produced like that, and it's quite nice. It's because a lot of the times they're so big of fans of the music that you don't. It's nice. Like you get to see someone's passion get written to a track, and I'm a big fan of that. On the flip side, let's talk the negatives. Like I say, I'm not here to be always negative. I'm quite a positive person. I'm really optimistic when it comes to things, but I have to often be real as well. There are people out there who are producing tracks, and they want to get a top 10 on Bounce Heaven or Bouncy or whatever the platform they're on, and they're just paying for it. Like, it's like throwing shit at a wall and they're just watching the shit dry against the wall. It's like not even getting something to stick to try and get a bucket or anything. I've genuinely no answer for why some people do that. Because if they're not trying to build a profile for themselves, then I don't understand the point. But there is people out there who do get stuff engineered, and sometimes it's just built, like they're not DJs. Sometimes it's just to build a social media following. Some people, believe it or not, are just producers. Some people forget that as well. Some people are producers who are no interest in DJing. They like producing music. And years ago, there used to be a difference between a DJ and a producer, not DJ producer. Years ago, you would have people who never go to raves. They would just engineer tunes as their day job, and have people come in and they'd write records for them. I mean, that's the be all and end all of it. And then you'd have at the same time the people who come in and obviously they want to build a profile off the back of it. I want to give a good example of this as well. A mate of mine, DJ Vibes. You might know him from hardcore. He's a good example of he always had like a really good way with his tunes. He got into the production side of things because he was a DJ. He had a taste in music. Someone spotted that and went, you know what, we could do something with that. Got in the studio with a few different people who were genuine music engineers and brought his ideas to life. I always remember on each release he'd have like a happy side, which everyone knows Vibes for. But on the flip side, he'd do something a bit darker, a bit jungly and a bit darker. And all of which were his ideas. And he built his profile off the back of, he used to be a guy who used to hand his demo tapes and everything like that out. And he'd have some success to a certain degree. Once he started doing the vibes and Witch Doctor, everyone knows them tunes. They were massive happy hardcore tunes back in the day. But he was able to send a record to a promoter and go, this is my tune, this is what I'm about. All of a sudden you'd be hearing all his tunes everywhere, and he blew up. So it is, a lot of people do build. I'm sorry, Vibes, by the way, for using you as an example, but you're a great example because you're somebody who I strongly believe some of them engineers who you worked with wouldn't be able to produce anything half as good without your input, and that's a compliment to both the engineer and to yourself. They make the magic that is the production and bring your ideas to life, but your ideas changed the sound of happy hardcore. That's a big statement, I know, but without those tunes, would there have been a later happy hardcore? I genuinely don't know. So yeah, that's my take on that one. I apologise for the long question, but and I've noticed as well when people are writing in, they're getting more passionate when they write the questions, because they've got freedom to speak. So yeah, I love the anonymity of this. I have to stop for a hydration break. Oh, man. By the way, great investment if you don't like this hot weather and whatnot. I used to have like ice, little ice cube tray like everyone has, but I found these whiskey ice trays, and it's essentially 6 big cubes of ice. I stick 2 of them in there. You can sort of see them melted now, but they're massive. They take ages to melt. I found putting ice in, it just turns to watered down whatever, you know what I mean? But check them out on eBay. This isn't a plug or anything like that, but I wish somebody told me about them ages ago because they're fantastic. It keeps you cool. If you're wondering what the mess is, by the way, I did tell you at the beginning I've got a bit of a project going on at the minute, and this is part and parcel of it. You will see we went old school. We've got that's an audio recorder. We've got a tape player which I bought from Vinted because I had the tape player but it was broken. We've got a JVC. I looked online for one of these and they're going for £80, but it's just a little. 1 second. Right there, old school. So it's just for mini tapes. So I've got these mini tapes that I'm converting as well. There's all sorts on these as well. Some rave footage from years ago. That was my dad's. So I'm working on a little project at the minute to do with the music, which you'll find out in due course. So I do apologise for a bit of a mess, but I've got production this afternoon. I've got some label stuff to do on the computer with regards to releases and things like that. So it is a bit of a mess. Next question. So we've got 2 more questions. So I've got a genuine question. Why do so many ravers seem unable to tell the difference between a well-produced track and a badly produced one? The same goes for the labels that keep releasing music with poor production quality and even more so unoriginal ideas. Does anyone else feel like that it lowers the standards of the scene when badly made music? Basic tracks get the biggest reactions. It can make the scene look like there's no quality control. Surely we should be supporting the producers who put the time, skill and effort into creating good music. Music is subjective and everyone has different tastes, but production quality isn't entirely subjective. There's a clear difference between a well-produced track and a poorly produced one. If someone can't recognise the difference between good and bad production, then I don't think their opinion carries much weight. You can enjoy whatever music you like, but enjoyment and technical quality are not the same thing. Thank you for that anonymous question. I love it. I think that's a fantastic question, to be honest with you. So this is where I think the bounce scenes hurt the most. I used to think the hard house scene was similar, and hardcore as well, but they seem to have got a bit better over time, whereas I think we've got slightly worse. So let's roll it back. Fucking hell, sorry about that. Let's roll it back. Early 2000s, production was a little bit hard to get into if you were not in the know. You know, you couldn't just fire up a computer and download the software, away you go. There had to be some sort of aspect of knowledge, where to get these things, what you needed, even hardware in some cases, pre good functioning computers. So not everyone was a producer. So you find that in the late 90s, well, even in the whole of the 90s, a lot of the stuff that was coming out, yes, the production wasn't great on it, but everyone was using an engineer, so they were all to a similar standard. I'm not going to say they were to the same standard, because they absolutely weren't. I've heard stuff that was terrible from that time, but everyone was working with the equipment they got. So, some people had samplers that had 2-second sampling time. Some people had 4-second sampling time. Some people had 25. I know the Amiga S950 had 24. That was a revolutionary tool that had 24 seconds of sampling time on there. So people were like, I can lift this off this track and I can put this here and use the full 24 seconds. So without getting too deep into the weeds of that, the standard got worse as we got into the mid to late 2000s, because guess what? Anyone can download Fruity Loops or Cubase and throw shit at the wind and go, right, well, this is my new tune. I don't know how to make a tune, but I've just made it through listening to other tracks that I like, and I've found myself a donk sample on the internet, and the quality of the music went really downhill. I remember, in fact, I'm bad to say this, but I think I've just bought them out of collections. I've never single-handedly bought a record where I went, why did I buy this? I've always bought with intention. But I've bought record collections of people, and you'll hear some of the stuff that came out, I want to say 2006 to 2010, that was, I don't know who gave the green light on it. It must have been so cheap at the time to produce these bootleg records, because the quality, like some of the fucking bass lines aren't even in key when they've done donk overs and things like that. The quality of the stuff was in the bin. But people who didn't know how to do music have heard it and went, oh, it's a latest pop donk tune and it's got a donk on it, I'm going to play it. Some key things from Rihanna of that time, Katy Perry, a lot of them tracks used to get really badly donked over, and it was disgusting. But when the scene died off, and there was only people who really cared about the music at the time, so I want to say 2012 onwards, the quality got much, much better, because people were like, I love and I genuinely care about this. I'm not looking just to make another pop tune and make it into like that. We're going to work on this a little bit more. Yes, you still got your pop donk remixes, but even still, some of the quality of those were much better than what was out previously that was even getting pressed to vinyl. That said, you're always going to get the shit wherever scene you're in. There's always going to be shit, and there's no doubt about it. It's a principle of economy. You've got the top tier. You've got those scraping to get that top tier spot. You've got the mid tier. You've got the lower tier, and then you've got the dog shit. It's basic economy of the scene. And as we're at a point now where there's a lot of people masking, and I know I'm not the first to say this, so I'm not going to make out I'm some sort of evangelist and go, this is what it is. Me, myself, and I have noticed a couple of things. You are at a point with AI, you're at a point with production where you can mask being a shit producer because AI helps you out a lot. So you can write a tune and you can look online and go, oh, these chords work together, so you guarantee the tune is in key. So you're bypassing the thing of being in key versus out of key. Getting a vocal in time, you can use AI to do that now. So then your vocal's in time where it should be. So you're getting a lot of help. So what I'm seeing is a little bit better production level, but at the same time, quite shit. I can see through a lot of these. I know others people can as well, where they go, it's just a tune, and like it's big build up, big EDM style build up, and then it drops, and it's just a kick and a donk or a kick and a tribal tribal church stab. We can see right through this. It's uncreative. Like I said, this isn't even related to what we're talking about. But at the beginning, I said when you've got people who can produce a tune and you've got people who can write music, this is where we're at. People who cut breakdowns out of tracks, have a set of drums breakdown of the original, like somebody said in here, where they've got the just copying ideas from the original, and then build up, and then they put the kick and donk bass drop, and it's just like, oh my god, I think the Melbourne has probably got a lot to answer for that, because it went from, we used to have big euphoric, and then it went to big dirty drops, and then it went to like the dubstep thing, then it went to the Melbourne thing and the electro thing, and as time went by, the drops got more basic and more basic and more basic, and you can see people start to tune out with this, and then it got to the point where it's literally just a kick and a bass drop, and it's like, it's boring. But hey, we move. Like I say, when it happens, and I'm going to be the person who says this, and I hope I eat my words and I'm wrong, but there's going to be a moment where this scene's going to die off, and we're going to get into a situation where the people who genuinely love it will stick around, and the shit will disappear. And what will be left will be people who are like, we're not standing for anything less than great in the music that they put out. So they might all have different styles. They might be euphoric, they might be all bass face droppy type stuff, but the creativity will be there. And right now, it's all still here. It's just that the people are not searching for the records. And I want to share this with you as well. The latest Manic sessions that I put out, we do 10 tracks in a set. For new stuff, and then we do the features, the throwback, and then wind it back track, etc. But the 10 tracks, I had a DJ messaging me saying, what's this, and in the end up he asked for 8 tracks. I'm not going to name who he is because I think that's a bit shit, but he asked for 8 out of the 10 new tracks, even though the track list's there as well. But we move. 8 out of 10 new tracks for this, and he's like, I want to use these tracks in my new mix, and I'm thinking, be a bit more original. I'm not bothered that you copy me, it's just a free world or whatever, but if I hadn't had put that mix out and him come to me and say, what's this, would he have just went on the top 10 on Bounce Heaven and downloaded off there, or top 10 Beatport, and went, right, well, we'll just get these ones because they sound alright, and then therefore it's just going to be the same donk drops and everything like that? Probably. I'm not going to say for certain, but if you were doing a likelihood, I would say it'd be very likely that that's what you'd have done, because you wouldn't have any other reference points. I'm not saying I'm the only DJ out there who looks for tunes, but he might have pulled 8 tunes out of my track listing. He might have took 2 out of another DJ's, 5 out of another DJ's, and he's trying to make a big mix or whatever. I genuinely don't have an answer for it, but this is a level we're at. And like I said earlier in this, we're at a point where there's ravers, and we're at a point where there's raver DJs, and then we're at a point where there's DJs, and a lot of these raver DJs who are DJing don't have a clue about the music. They don't have a clue about the track IDs. They don't have a clue about what works on a dance floor. And I think this fad will die out, like I say. But that's my take on that question. I do apologise that went on a little bit. Right, I want to talk about a couple of things quickly before I ask this last question, because I know some people will turn off when I ask it. So I just want to make that clear that and whatnot. So I wanted to talk about a little bit of a topic of the week. And I'm going to do a massive shout out and credit as well to Dom Murta from DVB, who's doing this. He seems to get a mention every week. Creative guy. So, topic of the week is DJ, MC, event, polls. It's on everyone's tongue at the minute, I mean, the MC one got a little bit spicy online, didn't it? Funny that, really. So the DJ one, Rob won the DJ one, I believe. So it's the GOAT. Who's the GOAT? Then these polls, and they start off with 16 names, and every day it's like a bit of a knockout tournament, a bit like the World Cup. And at the end, you have the best on the A side versus the best on the B side, and they face off, and who's the best, and it goes to the public vote. What's my thoughts on these? I'm just going to give you a quick rundown. They don't mean anything. They don't mean a single thing, right? And I'm gonna call Rob out on this one, because I think he loved this much more than anyone else. Do you think Rob Kane's now going, I won that fucking 2026 DJ poll that got put out, I'm going to stick 200 quid on my hourly wage for when I do a DJ set? Is he fuck? He's absolutely not. It doesn't mean anything. If it meant it's credibility from my peers, which is fantastic, but I tried to word this to Dom in a way as well, because obviously I'm a good friend of his, and we chat and we back and forth ideas. I like to throw him a couple of ideas my way, he throws ideas my way, or whatever, and we have that relationship. And we talked about this, and what it was he. I said to him when coming up with this, like, who's the GOAT? You're going to get a bit of pushback and things like that. And I said, if it was me doing it, I'd have a different winner. If it was, I don't know, Rob, we'll talk about Rob. Let's say Rob done that poll, right, and he put in the 16 DJs, and it went off, because it goes off a vote as well. He doesn't, Dom's not sitting there picking the 16 people who go in. He puts a poll out and says, who do you think should be in the top 16 GOAT? And then the top with the most votes gets put into the group stages. If Rob Kane was to put that out, and sorry for using you as an example here, Rob, but the 16 would be different. The top DJs, right? Rob, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, probably wouldn't have won it if he'd done it, because he'd have put it out right, and the people who's on his social media would be the likes of the people who love Lee Butler, the people who love the Dave Grahams, the Liverpool scene essentially, like, your John Cottons, Lil Jon, all them people, the people on the list who wouldn't have made it. And if you're talking about who's the GOAT, every single person, if I'd done it, I'd have people from up my way who would get quite a lot of votes, because to my local scene, the local legends, same goes if George Bowie done it from GBX, the top 16 wouldn't even look anything like Dom's. So this is why I say it's not credible in any sort of way. And I use the analogy of, in the Bounce Heaven Awards, right? Bounce Heaven got voted the best brand for the Bounce Heaven Awards, but it was Bounce Heaven who was curating the poll back in the day at the time. So everyone who follows that are going to go, well, I support Bounce Heaven. It makes sense, It's just logic, you know what I mean? So that's why it's that. But I absolutely adore what Dom's doing, because guess what? It puts focus on the scene rather than politics and negativity and everything like that. It puts focus on what actually matters, and it's the music, the DJs, the MCs, and people going, you know what, I like this person better than this person because of this, and it invokes conversation. I love it. I really, really do. So massive respect. And I hope they carry on for as long as possible as well. And people, please stop stealing ideas. If somebody comes up with a creative idea, don't copy and paste it and use your ChatGPT to come up with your own lists. do something more original. Dom's nailed this on, and it's really fun to go and check out his page and see what the latest thing is. Like for today, for instance, it was Zone versus National Anthems. Zone, who were a monster brand, and National Anthems were, as a draw, it's like the equivalent of getting like a fucking Man United and Liverpool first round. They're very, very, very good in their own aspects. And the debate that comes off, it's fantastic. I absolutely love it. But yeah, that's my take on that as well. Just if you do see these polls, put your 5p in, and just say, I like this or I like that. I really think it's entertaining. I really do. And right, this next question's not for the faint-hearted. So if you are anything to do with any sort of don't want to talk about anything to do with bad people, whether that be a bad person, a bully, or domestic violence, or anything like that, please switch off now. I assure you this is not what you want to be talking about. I was in two minds whether to ask this question, but I'm going to rephrase what was actually said versus what I want to talk about, because I don't think there's much substance in what was said here. This isn't at anybody in particular, and I want to make that very clear that it's not towards anybody in particular, but we need to weed out these fucking shitheads. So let's get into it. So this again from Anonymous. What do you think about promoters who choose to work with violent women abusers and thieves? Does this not tarnish them also? Ravers are not going to said brands for this reason. Right. That is quite a heavy question to ask. But, like I said, nothing's off limits, so I will discuss it. I'm going to rephrase it a little bit, and I'm going to say a genuine bad person in general. So that might be, there's thieves out there, as you say, domestic abuse, bullies, people who are just fucking shitheads who undercut other people. These are cancers of the scene who really don't have a place. Unfortunately, in the scene, there is people who have done some horrific things who, for whatever reason, they never really get blacklisted. I don't have an answer for that, but do I work with them personally? No. Will I work with them personally? No. Have some people come to me and said, we're doing this, do you want to be involved? And I've said no, absolutely. I'm not going to divulge and say so-and-so's done this, so-and-so's done that. I'm not about that, but what I've seen, and if anyone's got any fucking brain, you can go out and look at news reports that's out there about people being fucking bad gimps, right? And if you're a bad gimp, I don't have the time of day. And I mentioned this about when somebody asked me and said, would you work with this person? And because they want to know if you're interested in doing something as a bit of a collaboration. And I said, A.I'll be honest with you, no, I don't. Would I say never? And I said, never say never. Because you know what? I believe in people do reforming themselves and redoing a lot of bads to create a good. And some of them people in life end up being the best people because they've been so low in certain places that they know what it's like to be at the worst point, and they just want a good life, and they turn it around and they become decent people. I've got a lot of time for people like that, but you have got to work really hard to get from down here to a normal level of respect again. Because for me, if I meet you, and this is how I summarize people. You meet me at a 0. I don't like you. I don't dislike you. I'll give everyone the time of day. As soon as you do something good or great, you'll go up points. It's not a point system, but it's just a psychological thing that I see. If you do something absolutely horrific, you can end up in the bin with me. And I've cut family members off because of the fucking bad dickheads. In fact, I've cut a fucking whole side of my family off because of bad dickheads. But that's not the point. They're at the negative 100 for me. And it would take something astronomical for them to turn around and prove to me that they're a decent person. This isn't to do with music. This isn't to do with anything. If you're a fucking shit person, i.e. work with women, violent women abusers or thieves, you're down here for me. And if you want to get out of that fucking thing, how do you ever turn that around? It takes years. For something that you do that is 6 months of bad decisions, it takes years for me to be able to go, I can look past it. And when I say look past it, like a lot of the time I will not look past it, because there's nothing you can do that can make. You'd have to be a second coming of Jesus Christ to be able to make me forgive what you've done as a person. Because guess what? If you want to collaborate and work with me because, oh, you know what, I like what you do and what like, but I don't like what you've done, and what you've done is unforgivable. So therefore, there's 1,000,001 other people who's probably at your level, who's probably doing what you do, who's as creative as you, who want to work with me or another person, and you, very replaceable, and people soon forget that. You might think you're a cool person now. I could be me and do me. Guess what? If I disappear today, there'll be somebody else who comes along and does my shit. Because it will, and that's just the way of life. So you are very replaceable. There is people who are 1 in a million. And they're remembered for what they did. And because they're decent people a lot of the time. Which I'm going to finish on a bit of a lighter note here. And I want to, and because I feel like that got a bit serious, and it really, not about that. But if someone's asked a question and they want my opinion, no, I wouldn't work with them. I'm going to finish on something a bit lighter. Last week, sad news, lost a great, and when I say great, this guy, when I said my levels of where people are, he was up there. He's up there with my utmost respect. Very fantastic DJ, one of the best, a DJ's favourite DJ, a fantastic producer with 1,000,001 ideas, so many ideas he couldn't get them all out at the same time, a truly erratic human being, but for the most lovable purposes, and I honestly adored working with this guy. I've worked with him with music, I've worked with him, I've played for his gigs, I've did podcasts with him, and that's Sean Lever. Sean unfortunately passed away last week. It hit me pretty hard, to be honest with you. I've knew Sean for a long time, and to see such a nice, genuine human being sort of, 1 minute they're there, the next minute they're not, it makes you realise, Jesus Christ. Like I said, everyone's replaceable, but when you think of someone like a Sean truly was a character in which he's irreplaceable. Such a lovable human being with an amazing character. He's one of a few people nowadays. Everyone seems to be so focused on the social media aspect and what people think of them and things like that. And then you get and if I had to put the words to what Sean reminds me of the guy down at the market selling fruit and veg, just full of life and character, not caring what anyone thinks of him. And like I say, unfortunately last week he died, and it hurt. It really did. Like I say, I've known Sean, I don't know, 16 years, 17 years, and it's just a shame because he has so much more to give. I know he's working on an album. I know that he's coming up with these erratic ideas all the time, but I just wanted to finish this off on a bit of a lighter note because, do you know something? And this show as well, this is going to be a tribute to Sean. I just want to say rest in peace, mate. Like, lovable, and we've missed by a lot. It's going to be a real hard time going to your funeral next week. It's going to be rammed because he touched so many people's lives, and he was never about the centre of attention. Like I say, he was a much more successful DJ I was, especially early on in my career. And he used to reach out to me and ask how I was doing and give me a phone call and whatnot. And he'd come at me with like all these random ideas. Oh, I think this would work if you did this, or what do you think about this? I'm thinking about doing this. And the guy was lovely, genuine soul. And I'm just going to finish on that for this week. Thank you for watching. I'm not going to sit here and plug everything all over again. The Google form's there if you want to submit, but I just want to say my thoughts are with Sean and the family and all of his close friends. And I'll see you again next week. Sorry it's finished on such a thing, but this is a high. This is very much a high we're finishing on because we remember Sean for the amazing person he was. And I'll see you again next week. Have a good one.